Now, what's really amazing about this place is the way it reflects light at different times of the day. So this specific kind of marble, they think, might have certain impurities in it, which causes certain hues of light to emit at different frequencies at different parts of the day. I'm in Agra, which is the city that hosts the Taj Mahal in India. This is the Westgate entry area to Taj Mahal. This entire area is surrounded and covered by a lot of this red sandstone architecture. You always got to get a ticket. An Indian person pays 50 rupee, which is about 60 cents US. If you're a foreigner, it's 1,300 rupee and you only get 3 hours. These garden areas you see in here before this main entrance used to be in some kind of quarterly fashion, and the English tore them out. So it used to be surrounded with trees and water and canal systems, and for some reason they destroyed it. So this is the entranceway from due south. There is entrances to the southeast there, the due south, and the direct west, which you come in, and then you go up to the main entry. So the first thing I'm going to point out is that these Persian lettering systems that are all the way around the front gate. So this is inside the front entranceway. Okay, so here's the Taj Mahal, the World Heritage Site. The story is this place is, 400-ish years old. There was a Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. The story is that he built it for his wife who died at childbirth. Her name is Mumtaz. It was built as a mausoleum for her and eventually for him. That's the story. This whole area is a 42-acre complex with extensive gardens. Currently has a newer mosque, guest houses, and lots of other various architecture. But I'm going to walk down beside the waterway and give a slight little narrative of what I understand of the place as I cruise through. I mean, this place is a masterpiece of architecture. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's called a masterpiece of Indo-Islamic architecture. Now, what does that mean? Well, there's a bunch of conflicting stories about the origin of this place, actually. There's Hindu scholars that say it was originally built in the Hindu tradition, that other people have come along and said it was built by some kind of Islamic king that conquered the area later. Other people say that that's not true either, that this place is way older than any of them. And the English came in and around, I guess, the early 19th century, early 1800s, and started changing history in here. I believe that more than anything, because that's what they tend to do. So the English came in here and started tearing apart the gardens, removing trees, tearing apart some of the components of the structure. Story is the English wanted to sell the marble, so they came in and wanted to tear it down, but then they realized they couldn't move it. So they ended up not, I guess, and just changing the whole story of the place. So there's cardinal points here: due west, due south, and then due east when you walk in here. Now, of course, it sure looks like there used to be water in here. Maybe they're doing some maintenance, but there's no water in here anymore, except for around the main square there, you see. Take a little closer walk. I mean, the place is huge. It's on 42 acres. The facility itself is made of almost pure white marble. It's considered to be over 95% pure dolomite, calcium carbonate, pretty much the same thing. So the story is that Mughal Shah Jahan built this place in 1632 with a proclamation for its construction, and then they finished it in 1653. This is one of the narratives that's provided. There's a lot of controversy about that because the English were the ones that came in here and started messing around, changing history, burning books, you know, erasing stuff, putting people's signatures on things where they didn't belong, tearing apart the gold. Now, what's really amazing about this place is the way it reflects light at different times of the day. So this specific kind of marble, they think, might have certain impurities in it, which causes certain hues of light to emit at different frequencies at different parts of the day. It has pink colors in the morning sun, white in the evening, and golden hues at night. And in the moonlight, it emits a blue light. Some of the online sources, I'm not sure how accurate they are, but it says the common estimate uses 58,000 metric tons of stone used in the construction of the place. That's 58 million kilograms of marble that would have had to been moved and brought in here. Central dome is 73 meters high, and the minarets on the outside are 43 meters. There's 4 of them. Now I'm going to point out the obvious here. They say that's a mosque over there, okay? Well, then that's a mosque over there then, because they're the same. But if you look at traditional mosque structures around the world, this is a mosque. But they say it's a tomb. Why? It's obviously a mosque. You can see the dome in the center. You can see the projection of the antennae that go up from the minarets and from the central dome. Apparently the top dome used to be covered in gold. That was removed when the English came, along with the gold on the minarets, and then replaced with some kind of fake copper. That's one of the stories online. It's probably accurate. But it sure looks like a mosque to me. Now, the Persian that's contained, you can see, that's etched in the wall, it's not painted, is directly from the Quran. It seems to me that's more evidence that this is a mosque, right? Interesting part of this story. There's been a lot of structural analysis on this place. These minarets that are on the outside, they say they're not perfectly vertical, and actually they're angled slightly outward, which makes people kind of wonder what's going on here, because the geometry is so perfect in the majority of the construction. Why would somebody do that? So the explanation provided is so that they didn't fall inwards and damage the structure. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. Makes more sense it has something to do with resonance. So the main dome is 12,000 tons of white marble by itself. Now, apparently, initially, a lot of this was inlaid by precious stones at one time. They were since removed while the English were here in the early 1800s, so that would pretty much explain that. We can see the finial, they call it, which is the top part there. Some kind of work being done on it. Apparently, it was originally made of solid gold and replaced by bronze. Same thing with the minarets. The Islamic style of architecture is said to represent the paradise on earth and the way that the quadrants are set up. This whole thing apparently is an octagon, basically a square with a bunch of triangles jetting out on the flat sides, making an octagon. So I guess to go inside, we have to hit the west corner here and go in that way before we're allowed to go in the structure. It's got prohibited entry all over the place. I can't figure this out. There doesn't seem to be a lot of logic in the signage. Entry only for 200 rupee value ticket holders. So I guess I have that, even though I didn't know. Let's go inside and check out the mausoleum. So everybody has to put on shoe covers here to go inside the main facility. So I just came up the stairs and gonna go into the front entranceway. Wow. This is the entranceway to the main mausoleum, where apparently Miguel Shah Johan and his wife's body are seated. There's no photography allowed inside when you go in there, which I'm not sure why, but I'll give my synopsis on that later. So we're gonna walk around the outside of the inside. So these are the corner domes. Oh. So we're walking around in a square around the central dome on the inside. Looks like these were open at one time and they've been closed off. See that? These used to be entranceways. So I just came out. You're not supposed to be taking any photography in there for some reason. Saw the mausoleum where allegedly, well, there's empty coffins actually. They admit there's no remains in there. They say the remains are kept in the floor below. Now, I don't understand how that works. There's a lot of arguments about this place and who built it, how long it's been here, because we know the English were here and they changed all the history, messed around with all the timelines and tried to convince people that somebody else was here. There's lots of that. Just walking around the complete outside, the river in front. There's a famous book actually by an Indian scholar who says this place was actually built in the Hindu tradition and that it's way older than what's reported. Possibly. He says that the Hindu tradition actually predates Islamic and so-called Western Christianity, which doesn't actually sound outside the realm of possibility to me, because in my travels, from what I've seen, a lot of the Hinduist type structures seem to be a lot older than what we see in the so-called Western mosques and churches. He argues that this place was actually built in the name of King Shiva, which many people are calling God now, but King Shiva, who's the ruler, Shiva and his wife Lakshmi, who subsequently became deified. Now you can see there's some discoloration on some of the white marble. You can see it specifically up over there. Now they're saying they're worried about modern acid rain and climate change, that kind of thing, causing the discoloration, because it's a pure white marble. And white marble is calcium carbonate, right? Which is basically dolomite, which is very reactive to acid. So it would have consequences over time if there's acid rain. Now, the problem with this argument is that there's already acid in rain no matter what. There's a mild amount of acid in all rain. It doesn't matter whether there's climate change or not. So that would cause a natural degradation if that's the argument anyway. So that's actually an argument that says this place is not that old. Because if this place is made of dolomite and there's lots of rain, then there would have been a lot of deterioration over the amount of time specified. I'm going to throw one more poker in the fire here too. They won't let you take any pictures inside the so-called mausoleum, which is the center dome part, where they have these empty sarcophaguses that are supposed to represent the bodies of the king and his wife, allegedly. But when you go inside, I'll tell you right away, it doesn't make sense, because they put in artificial walls. They got an artificial walkway. The structures they have in the middle are not centered. They're not built consistently with the structure and the geometry. So they were clearly put in later. And it suggests that somebody faked it and put that in there to create a different narrative of what this place is. Now, inside the so-called mausoleum, which you're not allowed to take pictures of, there's this phenomenon of reverberation. Reverberation is basically the structure of a room or building or something that can be done in such a way to shorten or increase the resonance of sound. So for example, if you go inside and you hum or you speak, there's a reverberation or a natural resonance that occurs with your voice or with music. And this place was analyzed apparently, and the structure has a vibration of exactly 28 seconds. So if you say something your voice will vibrate inside and echo throughout the structure for 28 seconds. But the whole scenario here is that this huge facility is built on the banks of the Yamuna River. Now, one thing I know about historical locations of mosques and religious sites, if you want to call them that, is they're always built on water sources. It's all got to do with energy and the movement of energy. So here's the river, Yamuna River. So lots of rumors swirling around. There's lots of access problems. They won't let you underneath. There's allegedly the real tombs, they said, that are underneath the mausoleum. You're not allowed in there. There's 22 locked doors you're not allowed to go behind that are restricted. So I'm not clear on what exactly the strategy is here. The central structure with looks like some kind of resonator on top, which could be an antenna in modern lingo, built on water. The facility itself has an interesting foundation, they're saying, but they wouldn't give a lot of information online. But the water's since been taken out with the gardens. So you don't really get to see the way it was at one time. But it was definitely built with water in mind. That's impossible to deny. So the Taj Mahal, an architectural wonder that we're still trying to find out the truth about.